Hi. Hello.
How you doing?
We were just talking off mic, but I might have jury duty this week, and it's kind of a 0 out of 10.
Yeah, it's definitely not the business.
No.
Yeah, Zach had to do it a few months ago, and he missed pretty much a whole week of work. So that
Yeah,
was
I'm kind
super
of
rad.
stressed because it's just been like a really crazy time at work, and I can't really afford to take off a week.
No,
So,
especially when they pay you like 8 cents a day to do your civic duty or whatever.
right? Like, gross. Ugh, whatever.
Yeah.
Anyway, how are you?
I am doing well. I say, unfortunately, so last night we went to dinner for my dad's birthday, and we went to this like Brazilian place that I had never been to before. And when I tell you I misunderstood the assignment,
Uh-oh.
so like they have like these men that like have like these like giant like skewers, like with like just like hunks of meat on them,
Okay.
and they come around and just like keep bringing you fucking meat. Like
Do you have the meat sweats when you were done?
there was a lot of meat sweats involved, and also like Zach and I haven't really had red meat really much at all in the last like several weeks or even really months.
Yeah.
Like maybe like Christmas Eve, like, and when I tell you this was a lot of fatty red meat that our bodies were not used to,
You're
we
just
woke
not
up
happy?
and things were rough this morning.
Oh, no, I'm sorry.
Yeah, we're just now starting to feel a little bit better, but we were rolling out of there. Let me put it that way.
Yeah, that's rough.
Yeah, it was delicious. Don't get me wrong. Like,
But still rough.
yeah, like don't eat lunch if you're gonna go there for dinner.
Fair. That's fair. Fair.
Yeah.
Well, glad you guys are on the mend.
Yeah. So there's just your fair warning if you've never been to a Brazilian place. They do feed you.
I have not been. So I'll take it into consideration if I ever go.
Yeah, I was talking to Audrey and Tony this morning, and they were like, "Oh yeah, we went to a place that was like the same deal," and they were like, "Yeah, it's just all
A lot.
meat."
Yeah.
And it's like I mean like they have sides, but like it's just like people constantly bringing you different meat. It's like, oh, I understand you have like that piece of beef, but here's a different piece of beef and a pork rib, and also like this like chicken thigh, and then yeah, it just
a
doesn't
lot.
end.
Yeah. It doesn't. Well,
Meat sweats aside,
right? Meat sweats aside, let's talk about the Tinder Swindler.
let's talk about him. He is a wild human being.
Okay,
He
so
was
this
just
is
rolling around free.
right. This is obviously going to contain spoilers, so if you have not watched the Tinder Swindler on Netflix, go do so.
Yeah, it's only like it's a little over an hour and a half. It's
Yeah, it's like a movie essentially, but it's wild. So I guess let's give a summary and then we'll talk about it. So it starts off like interviewing this really beautiful woman. She's from Sweden.
yeah. I want to say the first gal was so.
She's from Sweden.
Yeah, we're going to talk about a lot of different women in a lot of different countries. So apologies if we mix up anyone where they live.
Yeah.
But this took, I mean, this whole story takes over like a lot of Europe. I think there was like 10 or 12 different countries involved by the end of it, or women from 10 to 12 different countries involved by the end of it. But this mostly highlights like 3 women's accounts of how they were swindled out of hundreds of thousands of dollars.
It's honestly like when I tell you my jaw dropped. Okay. So I'm actually going to pull it up because I want to see if I can find. Okay. So the first woman, her name is Cecile.
Yes.
And they start asking her, like she would go on Tinder. She'd go on a lot of dates, but like she just hadn't met the one.
Right.
And so she met him on Tinder. And
A
like
man named Simon.
A man named Simon. And like the first date he took her on, he literally like they met for coffee, and then he was like, let's go to Bulgaria and I'm gonna fly you there on my private jet.
Yeah.
And she's like
cash.
What? So she goes, and her friends are kind of like, girl,
Yeah.
pump the
like full
brakes.
send, would you go on a private jet with a stranger you just met?
No.
No matter how rich they looked, or
It
like,
literally
any
is
of
like
that.
the recipe for being murdered. Like,
Or like trafficked, or any of the above, or
Yeah.
apparently conned out of lots of money.
yeah, so for me, I would immediately be like, no, sorry.
Like, boy, bye.
Yeah.
Have fun in Bulgaria, babe.
Exactly. Thanks for the offer, but no. I'm just a skeptic at heart, I guess, though.
Me too. It's sketch McGetch, and all of her friends were right. Like,
Right.
really, at the end of the day. Not for the reasons they thought, but...
Right. So his name's Simon Levive. I'm probably saying... Leviv. I don't know.
We're probably butchering this. I hate us, but it's fine.
So she Googled him, and on Google, it's basically like the Levive family is, from Israel, and they're like in the diamond business, so they're really rich, and he's kind of like the king of diamonds, or his dad is.
Yeah, and like his dad is like the 78th richest man in the world, or some shit like that. So
she like quickly trusted him, like, oh, okay, he is. I Googled him,
Googleable.
He's real. Yes, exactly. So that's kind of where I'm like, oh, okay. Well, right. So she does take him, and he goes, I have a kid, and my daughter and her mother are going to come, and, with us, which...
TBH, second red flag.
Right. Like,
first red flag is the trip. Second one is the baby mama.
I do see, how that would give her some comfort. Like, well, I'm not going to be trafficked. I'm going with the mother of his child and his child. Like, I'm fine. Right. So she goes, and she's, they sleep together. They stay in a hotel. Like, it's this romantic whirlwind of a first date. She flies home, and she's like, okay, well, he dates her and takes her on all, on these trips for months, and is like, let's move in together. I'm in love with you. He travels all the time for work.
Yeah, they're business trips, and he's like, oh, just come with me. We're going to stay for a night, or whatever. And that was kind of part of the deal. Like, so, his Tinder was, it showed that he was, close, but, he was, based somewhere else. And so she was like, oh, what's your, deal? And he was like, oh, yeah, I travel a lot for work. So, that's why, my app says I'm, all over the place, or, whatever.
So he's selling diamonds, he's whatever. So then, one night, after she literally I just can't. This is so mind-blowing to me. I feel so bad for her.
Well, the thing is that every time that I thought this was going to end, or things were going to get better, they just kept going.
I know. Truly. So this is they're apartment hunting. She's looking at nice ass apartments,
furnished luxury apartments.
Yes, in London. And then one night he's calling her, texting her, my bodyguard got, I don't know, what was it, attacked and stabbed, sent her these pictures of his bodyguard.
And videos
and air quote, of him in an ambulance. There's blood. And he's got these enemies, and it's not safe, and he needs cash immediately because he's in danger, and someone's trying to kill him. And he's like, I need you to go pull out a loan. I need this amount of money. It's okay. I'm gonna add you as an employee. I'm gonna back you.
Yeah.
And I will repay you. I just can't take it out of my accounts because they're tracking me, and it needs to come from you.
Right. And then also meanwhile she's actually covering a lot of these apartment expenses, because he'll send Amexes that have her name as a registered user or whatever.
Yeah.
But then they won't work, and he's like, oh yeah, it's because my money's tied up right now and this, that, and the other. If you just cover it, I'll pay you back. This is all simultaneously happening. So she is already at this point, when she's first moved in with him, invested several tens of thousands of dollars.
So
But she's okay, yeah, I want to save your life. Sure,
yeah.
Let me take out a fucking loan.
She genuinely thought, his life was in danger. And, she thought it would be fine because he's rich. He can pay her back.
Yeah. Why wouldn't he? And they're in love and smitten and so, yada, yada, yada.
When he would start paying them back, the checks would bounce. The bank transfers would never go through, but he kept asking her for more money. I just need, so she's literally taking out, I don't even remember, but what was over $200,000 or something like that?
Yeah, I think she said she had taken out between lines of credit, cash advances, paycheck advances, all of that. I want to say this Cecile, it was $180,000 or something in that range.
It was
and it was 10 lines of credit and all of that.
Yeah, so...
Within 14 months or something that short of amount of time.
Yeah. So I'm kind of just because this has been a few weeks since I watched it, but so
right.
I'm perusing through a little summary, but it's just insane to me. So, obviously she's becoming more skeptical the more, like, the weeks go on, and he's continuing to ask for money, and none of the things he's giving her are, like, she's out all of this money. And then she's starting to go, like, what is going on? But, she had sent him pictures of her credit card. She sent him pictures of her passport. She sent him, he knows everything about her.
Yeah, she trusts him at this point. Like, she's invested.
Well, they're in a committed relationship. Yeah. Like, they've been together, I don't know, this is probably, like, over a year. I think you said, like, 14 months. I mean, that's, like, a decent amount of time. So then she starts to realize, like, oh.
The math ain't mathin'.
And so I think she goes back to Sweden, Oslo.
Yep.
And goes to, she's from there, so she goes to, like, she calls her mom. Her mom's like, you need to come home. So she comes home, and she like, stops talking to him. So he's, like, calling her, like, baby, I need money. Like, he's still trying, even though she's like,
I'm tapped out, buddy. Like, I can't.
And he's calling her. She, like, blocks him. Like, she asked him, like, kind of, like, give it up. Just tell the truth. And then he calls her on her mom's home phone, and leaves a voicemail, and basically was like low-key kind of threatening her without threatening her. I don't remember what the term was he said, but
yeah, like,
it was kind of scary.
Yeah, and then we find out that Cecile is not the only one. There are other women, many other women, but first, then we were introduced to another girl. I'm trying to remember what her name was.
Yeah, that he's doing this. Hold on, I got it. It's Pernilla.
Oh yeah, Pernilla. And was that the one that he ended up, like, just being, like,
yeah,
with?
They were just friends. So they had gone out, but they really didn't have a connection. But they stayed really good friends. Like, she considered him one of her best friends. He took her to, like, on this, like, luxury trip to Greece. And while he is telling Cecily, I think, that, like, his enemies are after him, he's, like, using all of that money to fund this, like, luxury trip to Greece with, like, his model girlfriend and Pernilla, and, like, they're living it up, like, rental cars, luxury hotel rooms and luxury meals.
A super lavish trip, like
insane. So
tens of $1,000s that this other gal is wiring over to him. He is just using it to party.
Yeah, with other women.
Yeah,
and so
an actual girlfriend or girlfriend, air quotes, and Priscilla, who's the friend.
Pernilla, yeah.
Or Pernilla,
and no, you're fine. So, like, then he does it to Pernilla. Like, same thing, same pictures, same story. She's like, well, I've seen all his money. Like, I've seen it in action. She's taken trips with him. Like, she knows he's got it, so he does the same thing to her. And then she's out. She said all of this money she had saved for, like, an apartment for her to move out on her own.
Like, I want to say, like, 30 or 40 grand she had, like, liquid.
Yeah, and so she gave it to him, and then he needed more, and
she took out loans and all sorts of stuff too.
She realized a little faster, I think, but probably because she wasn't, like, in love with him. She was just his friend, is probably, like, what separated that. And then there's another one who, her name's Eileen, and she was my favorite.
I really liked her too.
Because she realized after, so the other two, Cicely and Pernilla, like, once they realize this has happened, they start telling their story to, like, a news outlet. And so this news outlet, they're doing research on him. They find out that his name is Shimon Hayat from Israel. They go to Israel. Well, not the girls, but the journalists who are working the story. They go there. They're, like, looking for him and where he actually is from, which it seems like it was, like, poor. Yeah. And they go there and they meet his mom, and she's like, he's not here. We don't talk to him anymore. He changed his name to Simon Leviv because that's the name of this diamond family. Right. And so he's legally that name, but he's actually not related to them at all. But it's like a way for people to Google. Like, it gives obviously, like, legitimacy to his story. So they end up writing this huge expose about it, and it's published in many countries, and then more and more women start to come forward, and they're like, well, including Eileen, that's my boyfriend. she's reading the
like,
story.
Wait a fucking second.
Yeah.
She's about to hop on a plane, right?
Yes. And she downloads it so she can read it on the plane. Mm-hmm. And she'd been with him for a year. And yeah, that was her boyfriend.
Yeah. And
could you imagine?
As she's, like, hopping on the airplane, she, like, shoots him the article, and, like, he, like, tries to call her all the time, and she was like, nope, I'm gonna hop on this plane, and just, like, we'll deal with this when I land. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And then she gets off, and she was like, holy fucking shit. Because she had also gotten the whole spiel about the, like, bodyguard getting attacked, and the whole, like, everything was always the same. Like, he would change, like, names and scenarios, like, slightly, but like, he used the same photos, the same videos. Like, everything was all just, like, altered ever so slightly, but consistent enough that he wouldn't, like, fuck up his story.
Yeah. And so then you find out he had actually been arrested or, like, charged in Israel in 2011 for, like, fraud.
Oh, he did serve time. He served, like, 2 years.
And then he had bounced out to Finland, where he started running his scheme. But he served time in Finland after swindling 3 women. Yeah. And then when he got out of jail in 2017, this is, like, where we kind of pick up, like...
Where these women's stories start.
Insane. So Eileen goes... I decided to swindle the swindler. Like, because he essentially, like... He's starting to... His funds are starting to dry up after this, like, article comes out. And he... needs money. He's like, I'm broke. He's telling Eileen. She's like, okay, well, like, let's sell your clothes. She's in the designer clothes industry. So she's like, I'm going to help you. We'll sell your clothes. We'll get you some money.
Yeah, because he was never, like, not wearing, like, Gucci, Fendi, Prada. Like, all these fucking, like, true designer brands. Like, $200 t-shirts, right? Like, expensive shit. So she's like, let's resell it.
She flies to where he is. Because... I think he had asked her for a ticket, but she, like, goes to him, she takes his clothes, and then she ghosts him, which is, like, the best. Like, literally, while they're interviewing her, she's getting notifications that his clothes are selling, because she's literally just selling all his clothes and keeping all of the money, because she spent, tens of thousands of dollars on him.
And he's like, yo, where's my fucking money? And she's like, boy, bye.
Like... It is so funny. So, like, after that, he's, like, wanted in all these different countries.
There's 7 different countries that have active police reports against him with women that he is actively swindling money from. Like, he's extorting all these women for, like, tens of to hundreds of thousands of dollars. Yeah. Like, it's estimated that, like, it's about $10 million total that he extorted from the women over the years.
Insane. The girls figure out where he's going. I don't remember which one, but I think it was Eileen.
Girls. Yeah,
I thought,
or maybe.
I don't remember, but one of the girls essentially figures it out. She emails, like, the authorities, and they pick him up in Greece.
Oh yeah, she finds his location on Tinder. She goes to her messages to, like, see, like, whatever for, like, I think for an article, like a quote, and then she was like, holy shit, he's actively on Tinder right now, and he's, like, in, this country right now. It might have been Greece, you're right. And so they pinpoint his location, and he was like, oh yeah, like, I don't know why it says I'm in Greece right now. Like, that's weird. Like, I haven't downloaded the app in months. Sure, Jan.
And he was picked up he actually was using a fake passport. Mm-hmm. He was extradited to Israel, and he was, like, he was convicted of theft, fraud, and forgery of documents from his previous crimes in 2011. So, like, he had been charged in Israel but never served time, and then he got picked up in Finland and served time. But he only was sentenced to, like, 15 months, and after serving 5, they released him on good behavior. So he has literally never faced the music for all of these, like, the fraud he committed against these women.
Yeah, the fraud crimes that he did serve time for were unrelated, like, to the money. It had to do with the fake passports and, like, other things that he'd done
from. Way before.
Yeah.
And he, like, just, like, this documentary comes out, and he essentially is like, I'm gonna sue the shit out of you guys because you're, like, basically slandering me and my name, and because they, I think, had reached out for comments or whatever.
I'm sure.
At the time the Netflix documentary came out, like, he had really truly never been arrested for all of, like, the fraud against, Cecily and Pernilla and Eileen, and there were other women. He had, like, a website where he'd give, like, financial advice And he charged for it, so you could buy his class for like $300. And then it got taken down like a week after the Netflix documentary came out.
I'd like to say that if anyone just is selling a masterclass, it's probably bullshit. Let me just throw that out there. But mostly, yeah.
And he's like literally dating a supermodel. He's got Instagram like full of, he's like back living his life, like his rich life.
His Instagram just got taken down again a few days ago.
It did, and he is banned from Twitter for life.
Good.
So his Instagram was deactivated, and it said before deleting the account, he wrote, "Thank you all for your support. I will share my side of the story in the next few days when I've sorted out the best and most respectful way to tell it, both to the parties involved and myself. Until then, please keep an open mind and heart." My dude.
Absolutely not.
Okay. Also, I'm getting this from an Esquire article written by Lauren Cronk. I don't know. One or the other.
Right.
So, yeah, it looks like he's literally recently signed with an LA-based talent manager. Mm-hmm. He hopes to write a book, host a podcast, and offer dating do's and don'ts. I honestly, when I tell you, this is like so messed up. It's disgusting. He deserves to be in prison. He will never not be a con man.
For sure.
And it's disgusting.
Yeah, he's
like literally
sick.
$10 million from 2017 to 2019 alone. That's what they estimate he swindled.
Yeah.
And the women in the meantime...
$10 million in like 3 years.
That's enough for my lifetime.
Yeah, like what?
Okay, and the women are still paying their... Like, Pernilla went bankrupt. She had to live with her mom. Yeah. Like these women are still paying back all of the money that they had loaned him.
Yeah, so like, now, potentially up to, upwards of dozens potentially, because they said there was like 10 confirmed women, I think, as the time that they were like filming and everything, but there's probably more. Oh yeah. Well, and so now the Levia family is suing him. Good. Fuck that little bitch. For using his livelihood. Obviously, using like their name when he's, and especially using their name to support his cons. But yeah, okay. I just my mind was blown. Okay, and like those women are 100% victims of this whole thing. Without a doubt. It's so sad, and like I could see how you get caught up in it all. Like it's like a fairy tale come true, and like you Google and it seems to be legitimate, and like you have, he seems to love you, so why would you not trust the person that you're in love with and loves you and you're gonna move in with? Like, right. And like, you hear all that shit about like blood diamonds and like that shit's scary and like you're whatever, so you're like, oh yeah, like I've heard like snippets of this, that, and the other, like why would they lie about it? And like, he's super rich, and like it's right. I mean, so it's feasible to think like maybe he really does have enemies that want him dead or like want his money, right? Yeah. It's funny because like you see the memes of like like if someone tried to get me to give them $25,000 like out of the blue, I'd say like good luck, later days. Yeah, but that's why he like it's intricate. Yeah, because he develops relationships with them to gain their trust, and then he extorts them like for it, basically. So yeah, if he had done it the first week, of course they're gonna be like no, but he did this. He was in it for the long game. No, 100%. And then, actually, what I thought was really interesting and how he really got taken down with a lot of the, on like the journalism side and whatever, is all of their conversations and everything was in WhatsApp. In a text message, right? So it's not. You can't deny that stuff isn't true or didn't happen. Everything is saved. It has timestamps, and it's all backed up because it's all like through, I was gonna say Facebook, but it's not Facebook anymore. Meta. Yeah. And, like, all of that, like, when you sign the fucking user agreements and whatever, I mean, nobody reads that shit, but, like, basically it says, like, oh, yeah, we hold on to this ever, and if it's going to be used in, like, a legal case, like, sorry about it. Right. And, like, he has all of these, like, voice chats and, like... Well, and the women saved it all. Like, that's all their conversation, so... Well, even if you delete your account or whatever, it's still in a backlog somewhere, like... Yeah. It exists, so, like, that's why we say when it's on the internet, it's on the internet forever. That's fact. It doesn't matter if you delete it or not. No, but never forget.
Meta and WhatsApp is all like an internet-based messaging service. So
yeah, when you click that little checkbox, like that's what you're fucking agreeing to. So
the whole story is insane. And obviously you just listened to our summary of it. If you have not watched it, really go watch it, because wow.
It's bananas bonkers. It's on Netflix. I don't know if we ever said that.
Yeah, it's on Netflix. It came out about a month ago, but definitely watch it.
Yeah, no, like I said, like you think you know the whole story, like based on like just like a quick little thing, but like it's far more nuanced than you can begin to
very
describe.
Intricate, very interesting. So yeah, go watch it. Definitely would recommend watching.
So I don't want to like get like fully in the dick off mode right now. We had talked about this yesterday, maybe it was Friday. Sherri Papini.
Oh my god, I know. Okay, so
I left here.
I covered this case in an episode. Don't ask me which one. I don't remember.
This was moons ago.
Yeah, many moons ago.
A past life, if you will, on this podcast.
Essentially.
If we can find out which episode it is, we'll link it. But
yeah. So there's really not much to the story other than she's like from
Redding, I think.
Redding, which is in Northern California. And in 2016, she went missing suddenly. She was out for a run. Then she was just gone. And then a couple days later, she shows up in Sacramento running around a parking lot saying she had been like abducted by 2 Mexican women and beaten and
branded and like all this shit. And no, it was like 2-3 weeks. It wasn't even a few days. Yeah, it was like
and
weeks
released.
Later.
Yeah. So then when they found her, like the family all kept very hush. They really didn't say much. Like she stayed out of the public eye. And this week they arrested her because she had faked the entire thing.
Yep. And like the whole like kind of the whole premise behind the I don't say the premise behind the disappearance, but she like her big old like thing was like she was like a super mom, like she had these kids and like she was like the perfect like fucking PTA mom, like she was fit, she was healthy, like all this stuff, like she was blonde and beautiful and like the picture of what everyone's trophy wife situation want to be.
Missing white woman syndrome. Like, it captivated everybody. And so it was a huge deal. It was scary, like, to be abducted off the street, and she survived, like, seemingly for no reason, right?
Yeah.
So they took DNA off of her when she was found or whatever, and that DNA was that of her ex-boyfriends.
Sus.
So essentially the police came out in a statement. Well, see, the FBI was working on this case too. Yeah. So like she lied to the FBI and the police departments working on this. She just spent that entire time with her ex-boyfriend. Yeah.
And as it turns out, I'm pulling up an article from the New York Post right now. So there was like a GoFundMe that had like almost $50,000 in it that they collected, her and her husband, and she also received like $30,000 from like a victims compensation fund for people that have been kidnapped and all
from
that.
From the state, yeah.
Yeah. So, at the end of all of this, like they were up almost $100,000, if not more, depending on stuff that's like unreported or unclaimed or what have you, personal donations or whatever.
Yeah.
Assets, what have you. But so there's a lot of money in this disappearance that is now fraudulent at this point.
Yeah. And her ex-boyfriend knew.
Yeah.
So
nobody was saying a fucking thing for 6 years now.
I wonder if her husband knew.
I don't know, because he was the one that apparently was collecting the GoFundMe money and all of that. Like, I actually want to say, hold on, let me find where I found this in the article.
Yeah, but like, what would you stay with your, like, if I found out my ex-wife or my wife just bounced to go spend 2 weeks with her ex and I had 2 kids with her, I'd be like, okay, we're done, goodbye.
Yeah. So
I would out her in a second.
So this is what this article is saying. So Papini used $49,070 donated through the Bring Sherri Home Safe GoFundMe page towards credit card debt and other personal expenses. It appears that her husband Keith and an unnamed ex-boyfriend were at least aware of the ruse.
Who wrote that? article?
This is from the New York Post, an article written by Carrie J. Byrne, as of yesterday.
Yikes. So I wonder if they're going to get, charged with fraud too.
I would imagine. At least for her, it would be maybe a joint case with the husband if it's for the fraud. I'm not sure.
Okay, and so, like, think about this for a second. I'm comparing this, I don't know if I talked about this on, like, our dicking off section on another day. I can't remember, but I was listening to an episode of Criminal. It's actually 2 parts, where this woman was abducted from Mare Island. Do you remember me telling you this?
I think we might have talked about this separately. I don't know if it was on the podcast.
Well, I had just listened to this whole, just go listen to it. It's on Criminal. It was recent. She was kidnapped, and essentially the police came out and were like, called her and her boyfriend liars. It never happened. They were like, we're going to charge you like with criminal charges for like lying to us and wasting. Like, they came out in a news press release saying these people are liars. And then a couple years later, it was proven that they were not lying, that someone actually did that.
Shut the fuck up.
The police, the Vallejo Police Department, were like, they obviously super tight-lipped. The detective that had worked on the case and called her a liar, like, got Detective of the Year that year. And it all comes out that, like, it did actually happen, and they didn't take them seriously. And the couple sued the police department, and they won money, which they it's
good. Fuck that.
But, like, you contrast the two, it is so sad that people will make up lies like that. Right. And are believed and given money, and then people who actually experience trauma try to like come forward and talk about their trauma, and they get called liars publicly. It's insane to me.
My jaw's on the actual floor right now.
Go listen to that. It's a 2-part episode. Phoebe Judge, love her. She interviews the couple, and it's basically all told in their words, and it's very powerful, and it made me so angry. I was Googling after I listened to it, because I was like, well, that cop should have been fired first off.
Yeah. Like, that's foul.
Because he went hard. Like, if you don't know, like, don't come out in a news conference and say, yeah, they're both lying.
Like, what the fuck?
It's insane to me.
I'm upset.
Yeah. So, I have no words for her, for Sherri Papini and her husband, because y'all did wrong.
Yeah, y'all pieces of shit. You should be ashamed of yourselves, and I hope that y'all either see a lot of jail time or have to pay back a copious amount of money.
Oh, I'm sure they will have to pay it all back. Yeah, it's just insane. I mean, knowing the track record, they probably won't serve much time. Look at Simon. but yeah, insane.
And speaking of other adjacent Netflix things, have you watched Inventing Anna, or started it at all?
Okay, I started it, and I just like had a hard time getting into it. I will say I'm sick. I was sick though when I started it, and I wasn't feeling really poopy. So, I might need to like give it a go. I feel better.
The first half of the first episode is definitely slow. It picks up in the second half of the first episode, and then it like starts going hard in like the subsequent episodes.
Okay. I'll give it a try.
Very interesting, and that girl is also like on like a social media rampage right now.
Yeah, I've seen news stuff of it.
Yeah, like she's gained like hundreds of thousands of followers in the last couple of weeks since like it aired.
Of course.
Well,
Netflix paid her for using her story.
Yeah, like a lot of money.
Yeah. Well, it all pretty much went to restitution for her. I don't really know the whole story, but yeah. So
I would say it's kind of adjacent to this like Tinder Swindler thing. Like she basically would just like say like, oh yeah, like my dad's super rich, and then she'd like stay at these hotels and be like, oh yeah, like my daddy's gonna cover it or whatever, and then it just wouldn't happen, or she'd like peace out before like it was like it got time for things to get paid for or whatever, or she'd like at one point she had like a super rich boyfriend and he was paying for everything.
Yikes.
But like same thing, like she wasn't like into him, she was just
using
doing it
him
for the con.
Damn. Well, I'll give it a go. I don't know what's up on our next up on our Netflix queue. There's a new Netflix documentary called like The Worst Roommate or something, and it's like I want to watch that. It's like a series of like Dorothea Puente from Sacramento, who is a serial killer. That's definitely on my watch list.
Same. Do you want to cover that next?
Do that next? Yeah. Okay.
I've heard good things about that.
Yeah, we'll have a regular episode soon. So this episode's late because I got sick like 2 weeks in a row, and then it was my birthday. So, yeah, I'm 30 now. Give me some tissues, Jamie. All right, Jamie.
I'm kidding. Sorry, as the like literal fetus of the friend group,
you are. Jamie and you and Sierra are the babies of the friend group.
Yeah, and her birthday I think is like right before mine.
It's in December,
or right after mine then.
Yeah, so you both are the same age though.
Yeah, we're a couple of babies.
Children.
Amongst all of you grandparents. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, if you would like to donate to my funeral fund, feel free. I'm just kidding.
Have you applied for your AARP benefits yet?
I need it's on my to-do list. Right after I serve my jury duty next week.
Fuck.
Anyways.
On that note, do you have anything to properly dick off about? Is there anything like you're like super vibing with right now, or not? Like really, or being healthy at this point?
No, honestly, not really. Just trying to keep my head above water. It's been a busy couple weeks, so.
I feel that in my bones.
Yeah, I'm tired. Tie.
Yeah, no, I feel that in my bones. I read a couple of really good books recently. One that I gave 5 stars and I would recommend to just about anyone is the 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo.
Heard good things.
Yeah, by Taylor Jenkins Reid. That was very good.
I might have
really
to borrow it from you. I might have to borrow it from you.
Absolutely. My mother's reading it right now, but when she's done, I will give it your way.
Yeah, if you haven't seen Jamie's Instagram stories, go vote on which book she should read next. I voted already.
I know, I've gotten like hella votes, but like none of them are
the
duplicates.
Same. Yeah.
So I'm like, I just need at least one person to give me the same one, and then I can have a proper decision made. I don't need everyone being indecisive while I'm being indecisive. That's kind of rude.
I'm just saying, you cannot go wrong with Big Little Lies.
I haven't watched the show yet either, so...
See, that's prime. The book, you watch the book first, and then you can adequately...
I watched the book first.
Watch it first. Watch the book first, and then you can read the show and tell me the differences. It'll be great.
Cool. No, that's what I wanted to do with Sharp Objects, because I read that book a few months ago. That was also very fucking good.
The show is disappointing, in my opinion.
No.
But watch it still, but I found it to be disappointing.
Fair. And then I watched the show of Little Fires Everywhere first, and I have the book on my shelf. I just haven't read it yet.
I haven't read it either, but I did watch the show as well. I mean,
the show was good.
I love Reese Witherspoon. That woman, everything she does is gold. So I will always watch it if she's in it. Always.
That's fair.
And she's in Big Little Lies. She produces it. Or I think she's like an executive producer or something.
I think you're right. I'm actually almost certain of that now that you say it.
Yeah, she's a boss lady now. Like, in addition to being an actress, she just... Yeah.
Yeah, and I think she just... I don't know if you're familiar with that. It's on Netflix, but they also have an Instagram account, The Home Edit.
Yeah, they acquired Reese Book Club or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah, her company acquired them, so now they're part of her empire. So that's really cool for her and them. It's really dope. They're like a home organization, like, company.
Yeah, I love watching their stuff, but...
It's aesthetic as fuck, but I could never.
So expensive, though.
Yeah, like, they have the, like, line of bins at, like, the Container Store or whatever.
Yeah.
And no, thank you.
It's just so expensive. I love it. I would do it. I just can't afford it.
Yeah, like, absolutely not. I don't have
like a $20 for a tiny, like, little bin. Good night. And you need like 1,000 of them.
Yeah, and that's just to like make your fridge like, you know,
organized.
Yeah.
It's a little type A. The fridge thing is type A. It's too much for me. I'm type A, too much. The pantry, love it. Yeah.
Right. So, you know.
Anyways, if you don't know what we're talking about, go look at the Home Edit on Instagram.
Yeah, their feed is very aesthetic. 10 out of 10 recommend.
Yes, definitely. Well,
I think that's all I got.
Me too. I gotta go do some mopping because my dog puked everywhere.
Oh, no. Well, I also have housework to do, so we're gonna go clean our houses now. We'll be back with a regular episode soonsies. Good?
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.